Welcome everyone back to another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle video. My name is DFree. Here today we're going to talk about the brand new active skill mechanic, quote-unquote retreat. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Hit the subscribe if you're new for more content. Now, I wanted to talk about this because in my video showcasing it last night, whenever the Trunks and Vegeta duo was added into the game, we were able to kind of obviously see how it would function, in which if you guys would like to see that, check it out. Link will be down below. We also do know there's going to be a variant of Goku and Gohan, courtesy of the V-Jump, of course, but in that video, I kind of came to the realization, yeah, this is kind of, it's almost like a glorified transformation mechanic, but I'm all for it. You know, it's something a little bit different in which two characters in one card turns into a single character in one card, right? And one thing about the character names is there's actually a slash in between, so I'm guessing that's why it's not like a Join Forces card or something like that. Also, the final form of the card is actually just a singular card anyway. Now, it's pretty much just the TUR with an active skill, and then also the active skill turns it into a one character card. Now, the idea behind that was actually pretty apt. Like, I really enjoy that. That's a cool concept, and I want to kind of expand on it. Now, I have a few different ideas that I'll be trying to bring to the channel over the course of the next few days as far as different ways they can actually utilize this mechanic and some of the other pre-existing ones in the game. So let me go ahead and talk about my idea for this, and feel free to join in at any point in the description, or excuse me, in the comments down below. And also, again, if you want to see the showcase for the Trunks to kind of understand a little better, you can. Link will be down below in the description. So let's go ahead and get into it. So one thing I want to talk about is, before I get into my general idea, is the potential for the retreat skill as far as characters are concerned with different names. For example, it can be a Goku, or excuse me, a Gohan, or whoever, right? It doesn't really matter. It could be a Gohan / Piccolo card that afterwards has the active skill to turn into Piccolo. This is good because it does allow for you to have, again, another Piccolo option on your team, because the thing about this game is all the Piccolos have the same exact name. Like, for example, like that's one character in one scenario, but there are a bunch of other scenarios where having access to a card that starts out a little different and being able to turn into a character or whatever, having the same links or whatever, just being another option, especially for a team like the Namekians, for example, that just isn't going to be a team that ever really has the litany of options that a team like Pure Saiyans has, right? Or even some of the other categories in between. And again, this is just one example of one character, and there are others in the game, but that's one thing that's really cool as far as the potential of this is concerned. Again, and also characters that transform or active skill, they can link up despite having the same name. That's one thing also to consider too. For example, this Piccolo can actually link between his regular TUR and his fused with Kami TUR card. Like, it doesn't really matter. You can do stuff like that, and that doesn't only apply to this card. It applies to pretty much all transforming cards. It's just more or less being able to have them on the same team, right? That's pretty much the only difference. So here is the Vegeta and Trunks card. Again, it's just this slash. So the card actually is just Vegeta. Vegeta's the one doing the super attacks and all that stuff outright. And then the active skill activation, which it's pretty cool, actually. Vegeta kind of just hangs back, and then Trunks takes over from there. And the card does turn into, again, a Trunks card afterwards with its own passive. The links don't change. So as far as links changing, I guess in the future we could see something like that. I don't really know. But regardless, though, that's not really relevant for the video discussion. So let's get into some of my concepts. So what if? This is all a what if. So again, feel free to join in. And if you guys like the idea, make sure you get the thumbs up. So what if you had a Pycon card, right? And I'm going to throw multiple what ifs at you. What if we had a Pycon card? Doesn't matter which Pycon. I mean, any Pycon, right? Again, a new card, but these are the ones we have currently in the game, just for example. What if you had a Pycon, right? The only downside to it starting off as a Pycon card would be team options, right? But it can be any, this is just an example. It can be any scenario, right? What if we had a Pycon? After however many turns, he activates his active skill, which would be quote-unquote retreat. Honestly, I think swap is a more apt name for it. They do have swapped listed on the site here as well as far as the name of it. But again, it doesn't really matter what it's called. It's just the concept of it, right? So what if that was the case? And after so many turns, you activate the active skill, and he is replaced by a Goku and Vegeta, right? Something like this. And then you can also go a step further and have this card, after a set number of turns, or after a certain condition, whatever the case is, be able to have another active skill or a transformation. Doesn't really matter. And then they turn into a Gogeta card like this card naturally does. And again, it's not to tie these cards together. These are just visual examples of characters. Like, it doesn't really matter what card I'm showing, because this obviously is a pre-existing card, right? But it's just an example. So also, what if instead of going here, it's just Pycon active skill into Gogeta? That works, right? And this is cool because that's a good example, because in the movie, the Fusion Reborn movie, Pycon is there to help them buy time. You know, that's pretty much his last role in the movie, is to help them buy time to do their fusion. And whenever he's done, coincidentally, I guess the active skill would be Paikon getting his head smashed in by I don't want to say Janemba, but it would be interesting to animate because it's not like you're always going to be versus a Janemba. But anyways, pretty much whenever he's done, Gogeta shows up, right? And Gogeta from there takes over. So that's a good example of ways that they can do the quote-unquote swap or retreat type of mechanic. And one thing I've thrown out there as an idea over the course of the last few different days, and videos I might talk about a little bit more on in separate videos, is like the idea of like a fusion mechanic. I've talked about how another premium Dragon Ball game, again, an official game, right? You guys might have saw it at the end of that 300 million download stream the other day. They actually promoted it, Buchigiri Match. That game has the ability to fuse 2 cards into 1. Now, not getting into the logistics of how they're able to do it, because there's always this stipulation, isn't that illegal? Because this not, no, it's not if you do it a certain way. But I tossed that idea out there in a couple different videos for this game. And one of the things I said is I don't understand the logistics of it, because what would happen is you'd have a Cyberman replacement, or what would happen. But this right here actually can make something like that happen, because you can just have a standalone Goku and Vegeta card, right? It doesn't even have to be Paikon, or it can just be Goku and Vegeta starting out as a card, and then after so many turns they quote-unquote swap, because retreat wouldn't be, I mean, retreat, again, I don't care about the terminology, like the name of it doesn't really matter much. Maybe they can produce another skill, or they just produce another active skill that does the same thing with a different name, right? Because they're not really retreating if they're trying to fuse, right? But whatever, right? So like it could be Goku and Vegeta, and it could just be regular them, and then after so many turns they go ahead and put on the Potara, or after whatever condition, right? They put on the Potara and then fuse into Vegito. And then that's another way that this game can actually do that while adhering to gacha laws, because there is, again, like I said, ways you can do that. Basically, if you have a free alternative, you can do it and make 2 cards fuse into 1. But this game doesn't even have to do that. They can just make 1 card with 2 characters fused into 1 character. Like, that's a cool concept to me. And ever since I've had that idea, I've really wanted to see it come to fruition, right? As far as that's concerned. And again, there are other ideas like 2 cards linking for a specific active skill, or just different things like that that will make that they might have to tiptoe around certain things, like again having a free alternative, but just different things like that that could be cool ideas when implemented into the game and help breathe new life into Dokkan. So that's an idea, an example of like a Goku and Vegeta card, whether it's Vegito or Gogeta, doesn't really matter. I can even be Veku, right? Maybe they go into Veku, and people, the thing about this is like, there's this thing in this game where obviously people don't like transformations for the reason that you don't start out as the card. But, you know, if they're going to do something unique like that, that's different, I'm all for it, man. I really don't mind it. People don't like it because of that or because of bad restrictions. If it's a good restriction, like Gogeta Blue, for example, after, what is he, 5 turns? That's not so great, but it's not bad either. I can get it just about all the time. Or Broly, whatever. If it's something like that, I don't mind, right? As long as it's not a crazy condition. Or like Piccolo's. Piccolo can actually activate his transformation to fusion with Kami, which is almost, you know, the funny thing is, Piccolo fusion with Kami is almost the exact identical idea, because literally all they would have had to have done that's different is, they even have Kami in the art. For my idea, all they would have had to do is call this card Piccolo/Kami. Piccolo and Kami, or / Kami, whichever. And then literally this card does exactly what I said. Like, it literally would do exactly what I would say. Funnily enough, right? Because he actually is doing the fusion, right? And it's almost a similar concept to what we already have as far as transforming cards are concerned. So there are different ways it can do it, right? So that's one thing that I wanted to kind of point out. Again, like this card is already a transforming card. So it's not, it's a little different, but it's very, very similar. But it would be, in my opinion, kind of fresh if they did that. And not only that, but this is just one way they can manipulate the swap mechanic to have characters turn into a set card. And again, we already have that in the game already, so it's not a huge deal. But what if we had more examples of swapping, right? So what if we had Gohan go ahead and start off as Gohan and Piccolo, and he can actually, after a certain, I don't know if it's Gohan and Piccolo specifically, maybe in this case it will probably be a Goku card that after so many turns he can sell the Senzu Bean and Gohan swaps in, right? So like, this is ways that they can take advantage of the swap/retreat mechanic overall in the game that I'd be all for. And also another one that would be able to benefit from this idea a lot would be the Goku Black and Zamasu duo. Like, those characters can either start off as Goku Black and Zamasu individually as one entity, or they can do the thing where they go ahead and fuse. I don't really care in particular, but it's just a similar concept ultimately. Like, because the whole thing about the whole fusion thing is that the only real fusion cards that we have are the Goku and Vegeta cards. Like, that's the only joint forces type card that turns into one character ultimately. So that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed the idea. I wanted to try to paint a picture for like different things they can do. Like at some point towards the middle, I started talking about, again, this type of thing. And then I also kind of came a little bit to the realization, hey, it's not so different from what we already have. So maybe not so much this, but maybe more along the lines of this, the PyCon, or one character literally swapping his place for an entirely different character, which would add more viability to team creation. That's the main concept of this, right? Not so much the fusion, but so much the idea of having the possibility of one character swapping places with another. Now, they would have to obviously give different links in that case. They did not do that with the Trunks and Vegeta card. The links are exactly the same. But regardless, though, that's a cool idea to me. And they can make it to where it works out, right, logistically. You know, again, it just depends on the unit's base. Like, PyCon's not a unit that has good options for teams, but whatever, right? It just depends what they do. So anyways, you guys probably have more ideas on how they can make this work, and I'm excited for this. I think that there's a little bit of different ways they can take this, and I don't want to overthink it, but it's just more or less thinking about it in general gives me ideas, and I wanted to share them with you guys. So if you thought this was a cool idea, make sure you hit the thumbs up. If you guys enjoyed this content, make sure you hit the thumbs up as well. If you're new, hit that subscribe, share the video out with your friends if you think that they would be interested in this too. Have an awesome day, everyone, and I'll catch all of you guys in the next one.